This one is interesting.
Are you not entertained?
No, and the joke is getting old. The more I think about Gladiator II's existence, the less sense it makes. Aside from Ridley Scott wanting to make up for not fixing the Alien franchise, Gladiator II is not only completely unneeded, but it makes little to no effort in attempting anything new. It does, however, offer big exciting set pieces, and of course, Pedro Pascal. Yeah, Gladiator II is in some ways, I know I keep saying this, a fun movie, and due to it coming out a quarter of a century after the original, it may just be to the film's benefit. While not a complete carbon copy, the premise is vastly similar. Our protagonist overcoming great loss, doing something impressive to gain attention, mainly for the purpose of revenge, or justice, whatever you want to call it. Granted, the latter parts of the movie are quite different, but still not that good. Would have worked a lot better as a reboot, opposed to, well, a sequel. If you've never seen the original, you'll definitely like it a lot more. But if you look past the mostly copy and paste job, it still devolves into what is kind of a mess. Way too much going on, decisions that don't make any sense, and stuff happening for no reason other than the plot needs it. Begging the question, why do we have this movie? What was the mindset behind its creation? What does it give us? I don't have the answer, so let's take a look and find out. We're not gonna find out. Like the original, we have a revenge plot to put into motion, and a Roman army raid in Numidia can very easily get that done. Given we open to our lead Hanno, played by Paul Mescal, and his very loving wife, it's not too hard to determine where it's going. Similar to Maximus losing his family, but aside from the movie doing the same thing, you still know it's gonna happen. From the opening scene, you know it's gonna happen. She could literally say, I'm gonna die to get the plot moving, and it would make no difference. The raid is fun to watch, though not that lengthy, but it's still good. I mean, it's led by Pedro Pascal. I know he has a movie name, but at this point, I don't care. When you continuously have Pedro Pascal, for the sake of having Pedro Pascal, it kind of becomes what you see. Honestly, at this point, even Joel is dead to me. It's just Pascal and some miscast actress.
Acclaim this city for the glory of Rome.
I'm getting some not really the main antagonist vibes. So despite being branded and taken captive, the whole losing his wife thing, Hanno is still pretty positive. After all, his friend is okay, his friend who now wants to die, but it's time for Hanno to prove himself, get the attention of Denzel Washington, and a trip to the baboon pit will get both those things done. This may be a nitpick, but it's kind of hard to miss the fact that one baboon really wants to kill Hanno, and when she has to break his tooth off, bite him, yell in his face, eventually choke him, while the others don't really put up a fight. This guy's lightly kicking him, the other guy's just standing there. It's not a big deal, but they could have added a bit more death.
I'll buy him.
That's one box checked.
Whose head could I give you?
The general will do.
That's another. And in case you don't know, all he's got to do is win a bunch of matches and he'll have Pascal's head. In other words, prove himself to get revenge, but this time with much bigger and unique set pieces. Speaking of Pascal, obviously he's not the main antagonist. I wonder who it will be. I'm not sure what's up with these weird-ass Emperor brothers, one being an asshole, the other being somewhat unhinged. It's not hard to see where it's going, but Pascal is sick of war, he doesn't like the two emperors that much, and his wife Lucilla, again played by Connie Nielsen, of course agrees. They're gonna conspire with some uninteresting side characters to overthrow the emperors. Place your bets on how that turns out, but for now the plot must find a way to make Hanno look suspicious. Everybody must know about his Roman education, and they get that done by having him fight somebody for entertainment purposes. Granted, it is a well-done fight, and upon winning for no fucking reason, recites a verse from Virgil. Don't know what good that did, aside from proving he's not Maximus, he's a fucking plot device. There's no good reason to do that, aside from just because. But the time for an actual gladiator-like arena fight has come. And I won't lie, I do like how every one of these is unique. Rhinos, baboons, sharks, there are plenty of new ideas. It's for the most part, dare I say, entertaining. But it's not just about looks. First off, Hanno basically loses, is shown mercy but doesn't want it, and then automatically wins. Definitely not as cool as Maximus being a badass and just winning, but the reason Lucilla wanted him to show mercy is because Hanno is her son.
I don't know why.
And how does she know this? Because he put his hand in the soil, similar to how Maximus did, so who else could it be? No, I'm not kidding, this is the reason why. Maybe if he did it for no reason, like the fucking verse earlier, but there was a reason to trick the rhino, so that could have just been it. The fact that this is how we find out is just stupid, but like I said, copying the first movie is not the extent of the problems here. She goes to tell Hanno about this, in which she believes her, I guess. I mean, it's irrefutable, but he's not too pleased about being sent away.
Your name was on his lips.
Given the situation back then, her decision wasn't without reason, but I guess it's the way it goes. Acting irrational is a lot better, and since he is Maximus' son, it's at this point you should realize the night and day difference. Doing stupid things for no reason, acting irrational. If you want to argue Gladiator II is not a copy and paste job, this is how. It is to a point, but stuff that made it good, that made our lead good, is mostly absent. But then again, maybe he's mad she never hit the like button, or considered subscribing. There's the gaming channel too for the same content with games, and speaking of games, a naval battle, complete with real sharks. A good enough scene at this point I kind of quit caring. The movie is definitely falling back on these. He does try and kill Pascal, but misses, so relevancy. And if you bet on Pascal's conspiracy going badly, congratulations. One of the weird-ass emperors is clearly a lot angrier, leading to another obvious plot thread later.
I have come to think of you not as a subject, but as a true friend.
Figure that out. Lucius, we call him Lucius now, is given his dad's sword and armor. It changes nothing, and Pascal must fight him as punishment. Obviously he doesn't do much fighting, he more so wants to talk. The end result is he loves Lucilla. Lucius won't execute him, but he's killed anyway with a decent amount of movie left, leading to a riot. And this is when things really start to drag. First off, Denzel Washington manipulates one emperor into killing the other. Who would have seen that coming? Apparently he convinced him he'd blame him for the riot. Then this happens.
I name Citizen Dondas! Hail Dondas!
El Dondas?
Hail Dondas!
Yes, that happens, and no, this is not a Gladiator parody, that's just what happens. Lucilla and Lucius make up, she gives him the ring that belonged to Maximus, and we find out Washington used to be a slave, that statement will make someone happy, and vows to avenge himself by becoming emperor, meaning the other emperor must go too, so he convinces him to have Lucilla executed in the Colosseum, with Lucius defending her, hoping their deaths will trigger another riot, which the Senate will defuse by executing the other emperor. No, I don't care about their names. Would anybody after this? Seriously, if you're still into the plot at this point, I don't know what to tell you. Nothing about this finale makes any sense, really. It starts out okay, the senators she conspired with are brought in too. He of course gets the gladiators to revolt, but the whole thing about his friend heading off to get military aid from Pascal's legions outside of Rome because he has the ring is kind of a stretch. After Washington kills the other emperor, he just kills Lucilla too because he's mean, I guess? And upon Lucius pursuing him and facing off in a duel, it may just be me, but isn't there a substantial age and skill difference? The first movie had a clever way around this. In case you missed it, I'll leave it out. But in this case, they go into the water, another one of those vision things I skipped over earlier because it was irrelevant, and the much younger and more skilled fighter wins. Hooray! So no bittersweet ending this time, it's all pretty much good. Yeah, Lucilla is dead, but whatever. And by revealing his identity, he's convinced both armies to build a united Rome. So yeah, pretty much, happy ending. That was Gladiator II, and it really is baffling. Is it fun? Yeah, at times, mainly the Gladiator sections, but that really is all the movie has going for it. I wouldn't call it outright bad. If you haven't seen the original, it does become a lot better. But being a sequel, I have to assume you have, and I wouldn't even say it justifies the runtime, because unlike the original, this one becomes contrived toward the end. Most of the events you see coming, nothing particularly shocking in any way, a lot of it doesn't even make sense, and the characters don't help a lot either. Denzel Washington does a good job, but I wouldn't call him memorable. The two emperors are just bizarre, for the sake of being bizarre, and Lucius isn't really a good lead either. Obviously inferior to Maximus, and he comes across as somebody who's trying to get attention. Reciting the verse for no reason, clearly overreacting, I found him very hard to root for. Not who I want helming a fucking Gladiator movie. And I think it goes without saying, Pedro Pascal is not saving it. All in all, it's a movie I don't care about. I know you're not supposed to make videos you don't want to make, but the more I think about it, I just can't get past its existence. The fact that Ridley Scott felt the need to bring this back 24 years later and add nothing new aside from riveted nonsense is so fucking baffling, I had to cover it again. From the same guy who knew to leave the alien out of the trailer and keep gender out of the script. It may not be as bad as the recent Alien movies, it may even be watchable, but in the end, that's no reason to make something. I'm the analyst, and remember kids, Pedro Pascal is Pedro Pascal.